Hey there, everybody. It's your good pal Dustin, back with another episode of Turn It Around. Yes, I am alive. I am sorry for no video yesterday. I was not feeling the best, and I spent most of the day in and out of dreamland. Um, so I didn't do much of anything yesterday. Wasn't feeling good. Feeling better now, obviously, because here I am bringing you another episode of Turn It Around, episode 203. But before that, I hope everybody had a wonderful and blessed Sunday yesterday. I hope you got to spend time with God in whatever way that looks like for you, whether that's going to church, reading your Bible, prayer, singing along to Christian music, or taking in YouTube and or TikTok Christian content. Excuse me. In whatever way you spend time with God on Sunday, I hope you got to do it yesterday. I hope you got to do it today. And I hope you get to do it throughout the week. And I hope you have a wonderful and blessed week ahead. And as always, if you want to help me get my videos out to more people who may need to hear God's words through me, please do interact with the video somehow. Like, share, comment if you want, subscribe if you haven't already. That way, hopefully, it tells the YouTube / TikTok algorithms that, hey, let's put this guy's videos out to more people because people seem to like it. So if you want to help me do that and you like what I'm doing, please do interact with the videos. It would mean a lot to me, and it might mean a lot to someone who may really need to see my videos. Anyway, like I said, we are on episode 203, continuing our little study on God and media. We are on part 13 or 14. I've lost the plot. We're on part 13 or 14. Goodness. Continuing God and Middle Earth. This is part 4. First two parts we covered the creation story of Middle Earth. Last week we did The Hobbit, and today we are getting started on the Lord of the Rings trilogy, starting with the Fellowship of the Ring. Now, themes. I want to preface this by saying a lot of these themes are throughout the entirety of the series. Actually, all of these are themes throughout the entirety of the series. Temptation, loyalty, hope, sacrifice. So you'll probably be seeing these again in, for the Two Towers and the Return of the King, because these are just almost the overarching themes of the entire story. Excuse me. So, all that being said, let's get going. And we're going to start out with temptation. Now, it's obvious what the symbol of temptation is in Lord of the Rings, that being the One Ring to rule them all. It constantly tempts those in its proximity, being worse for whoever is actually holding it physically. But for whatever reason, it seems like hobbits have a natural, what do you want to call it, natural resistance to it. I don't know why. I think it's because hobbits, like, their whole thing is they just want to live peaceful, just peaceful, normal, every day. They don't want to do anything. They almost don't see evil. They don't know what evil is. I mean, they do, but they don't. It's like they know it exists, but they can't tell when they see it. So I think that is part of the reason. And like I said, temptation, Frodo and those around him deal with that throughout the entire series, because like I said, the One Ring tempts all in its proximity, being worse for the holder of the ring. And for Frodo, it starts as a temptation for safety from the Nazgul. Once Frodo learns what the ring does on accident, because being pushed over in that tavern in Bree and the ring getting around his finger, which I don't even know how that happened, but it happened. And he figured out, he now knows that, oh, this makes me invisible. And so the ring uses Frodo's desire for safety from the Nazgul to try to get Frodo to put the ring on when the Nazgul are around. And of course, we all know that the Nazgul can still see the person even if they are invisible. They see the ring, not so much who is holding it. All of these characters deal with temptation. Boromir falls to that temptation, and we'll get to him a little bit later and his redemption arc. But each person is tempted when they are dragged away by their own evil desire and enticed. Then, after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, gives birth to death. James 1:14 through 15. A lot of the temptation does lead to bad situations, bad ends. If Boromir hadn't tried to take the ring from Frodo, the Fellowship may have never separated. Boromir might not have died the way he did, and they might have had an easier time. But of course, being a story, gotta have some obstacles, some difficulty, and that is just the way sometimes that God works. It is only through difficulty and through struggle and strife that we get stronger, that we become stronger in our faith, become stronger in our devotion and love of God, and willingness to do what God wills. God forges us in the fire. And a lot of the times, that's what is needed. You know, when you're teaching your child how to swim, some people just toss their kid into the deep end of the pool and say, swim. Obviously, that is not a good thing, but, that's the only analogy I can think of. So, like I said, temptation is something that is dealt with throughout the entire series. In the Two Towers, we have Faramir, Boromir's brother, who captures Frodo and almost screws things up by taking Frodo after discovering Frodo has the One Ring, taking Frodo to Gondor. The name of the city is just completely not coming to me. But to Gondor, and it is only after Sam talks to Faramir after they've gotten to Gondor that Faramir's like, what am I doing? doing what I am doing right now is make it to where we may lose everything. Faramir resists the temptation of the ring and lets Frodo, Sam, and Gollum go. And in The Return of the King, we see the end result of Frodo having carried the ring for so long, and Frodo finally succumbs to the ring's temptation. And it is only through divine providence that the One Ring ends up in the fires of Mount Doom. Loyalty and hope. In loyalty, we can see the power of loyalty. Like I said last week, it is blind loyalty that we need to watch out for. But we can see the power of real loyalty through Fellowship a lot through the character of Samwise Gamgee. Sam willingly follows Frodo into the darkness of Mordor in order to help Frodo destroy the One Ring. Sam does not want Frodo to face his struggle alone, so Sam willingly risks his own safety, his own life in order to go with Frodo, so Frodo has somebody to support him through the struggle. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for a time of adversity. Sam and Frodo, though a lot of people like to, in their headcanon, say that Sam and Frodo were a little bit more than friends, if you know what I'm saying. And, that is technically true because I see them more as brothers. They treat each other more like brothers than friends. Obviously, you can be friends with your brother, but it's a brotherly love between the two. And that brotherly love was born for the time of Frodo's adversity of carrying the One Ring. And now hope. Obviously, throughout the entire series, we see so many times where it seems like things are their darkest, that things are going to fail, they're going to lose, darkness is going to reign. But the Fellowship, even separated, finds the strength to keep going. Aragorn at Helm's Deep convinces King Theoden to ride out because he knew that Gandalf should be arriving on that day, and that it was the only way they were going to drive off the Uruk-hai. Frodo, whenever he feels like he can't keep going, thanks in large part to Sam, Frodo finds the strength to keep going. Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, character, and character, hope. The entire Fellowship perseveres through their suffering. Legolas and Gimli, when Aragorn falls off the cliff in the Two Towers, they keep going. Even though I believe neither one of them actually thought Aragorn was dead, but they still kept going regardless, because they knew everything else was bigger than the life of one person, even if that person was a dear friend. And they held on to hope that Aragorn would return. And he did, giving even more hope to the people of Rohan. Obviously, Frodo's willingness to bear the burden of the One Ring is like Jesus willingly bearing the burden of the cross. Gandalf sacrifices himself in order to save the others from the Balrog in Moria so they can escape. Because again, Gandalf knows that his life is insignificant compared to the lives of all peoples of Middle-earth. And so he willingly sacrifices himself to make sure that Frodo has a chance. And like I said, Boromir does get his redemption for what he did to Frodo. He realizes what he had done too late, but he realized and he regretted. He felt shame. He tried to get Frodo to come back, but it was no use. And so, in his grief over what he had done, and in hopes of redeeming himself, he sacrifices his life trying to protect Merry and Pippin from the Uruk-hai. Of course, Merry and Pippin end up getting captured anyway, but Boromir redeemed himself, redeemed his mistake through his actions of trying to protect them. We see a lot of sacrifice in the series. Boromir, Gandalf, Theoden eventually, Faramir. So much sacrifice, and sacrifice willingly in order to combat the darkness of Mordor. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends and carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. First one is John 15:13. Second one is Galatians 6:2. Sam helps Frodo carry the burden of the ring. Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli help the people of Rohan carry on and fight the darkness of the Uruk-hai and win. Gandalf sacrifices himself to ensure Frodo has a chance on his mission. In all these ways, they help carry the burden of the war against Sauron and the Ring. There is a lot of sacrifice in the Bible also. Jesus, obviously. Samson, who sacrifices himself after redeeming himself, after becoming so arrogant and having his strength taken away. God gives his strength back so that Samson can perform one last feat for God's people. There's so many other examples of sacrifice in the Bible. Sacrifice isn't a bad thing. Now, suicidal sacrifice is not good. Like when you are sacrificing yourself for something that you know is not necessarily a good thing. Nowadays, people call it suicidal empathy. Sometimes people need to bear their own guilt, their own burden, their own wrongs on their own. It is the little things that we can be empathetic towards, that we can help carry the burden of others. So remember to be like Christ, be like Frodo, be like Boromir, be like Gandalf. Be willing to sacrifice for those you love. As always, I thank you all for your time. Again, sorry for no video yesterday. I am back today. So I hope you can forgive me for being a little sick yesterday. But I thank you all for being here. I thank you that I can continue to do this because I know that people are getting something. They are hearing God's words through me. And I can't thank you enough for allowing me to share God's words with you. Again, if you want to help me get my videos out to more people, interact with the videos, like, share, comment. If you want, subscribe if you haven't already, or follow if you're on TikTok. I want more people to see my videos, people who may need to hear God's words through me. And as always, my friends, remember that I love you, God loves you, and please remember to love yourselves and those around you. Until next time, my friends, bye!